In today's video, we're exploring some NHL trade rumors on Sharks forward Tomas Hertl. He could be a player on the move here in the short term. There's plenty of teams where he could be a good fit, so we're going to take a look at that. We have an update on Kirill Kaprizov's contract stalemate with the Minnesota Wild and where things are at in that situation. Could Jake Virtanen be heading to the KHL? We have another signing. Plus, I want to recap the Canada-USA Women's World Championship gold medal game last night as well. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a lot to cover here today. Some different news going on. First up, last night's game between Team Canada and Team USA in the Women's World Hockey Championships was a phenomenal affair. Team Canada comes away with the gold medal for the first time since 2012. Obviously, the Americans have been much more dominant at that tournament. The Canadians have done very well at the Olympics, but more so the Americans at the World Championships. Again, like we see most often when these two teams battle, it again went to overtime. This year they have a different format where they were playing 3-on-3 hockey in 20-minute periods until we had a goal. And of course, none other than Canadian legend Marie-Philippe Poulin scores the overtime winner on an absolutely awesome shot. At first, the referees were not completely convinced it went in, so it was not ruled a goal immediately. But then, of course, it was buzzed down to notify the referees that there was a goal scored that was missed, and the game was over. Canada wins gold, and it kind of goes back on top of the mountain here in women's hockey. That rivalry to me, especially in the women's world, but it kind of applies to across hockey in general, Canada-USA, to me, is one of the absolutely best and most fierce rivalries right now, when there's always an epic matchup, whether it's the men or the women at World Championships or the Olympics or what have you. It's kind of really become quite a thing, and it was one heck of an entertaining hockey game. If you had a chance to watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, try to catch a replay. I know it was aired on the NHL Network in the U.S. and TSN in Canada. So one heck of a hockey game, and again, Poulin comes up with the winning goal. That's 3 times now that she's won a tournament for Canada, including twice at the Olympics where she scored the gold medal winning goal, and now again in the World Championships. She's got a lot of money in that stick she carries, and she's quite a legendary player here in Canada. Now on to the signing news of the day. The biggest one of all was St. Louis Blues and defenseman Colton Parayko coming together on an absolutely monstrous extension. He gets an 8-year deal, $52 million. Total value, 6.5. Average annual value, that's a pretty substantial contract for Parayko, who's currently 28 years old. Of course, he was entering the final year of his contract, so he'll be 29 when the contract officially kicks in. Of course, after Pietrangelo left last season and free agency, we knew Parayko's role was going to be elevated. I know he was hampered a bit by injuries last year, but generally speaking, he has been a very instrumental piece. Not a huge point producer, but still somebody who can log big minutes. He has had multiple seasons of 10 goals. Big contributor when they won the Stanley Cup that year as well in the playoffs. Obviously, he's a huge guy. He's well over 6'5", 6'6", 230 pounds. Like he's a massive guy, important piece back there. So this has been the year of defensemen getting paid. I do suspect the other D-men around the league that are going to be looking for an extension or are eligible now are going to probably be looking to this and others and seeing where they fit in. I know like Morgan Rielly with Toronto is one of the primary ones that comes to mind. I think they'll have a challenging time coming to terms there. I mean, if Parayko's getting 6.5, Rielly puts up a lot more offense. He's probably in that 8 to 9 range, along with the other D-men like Hamilton and Jones and those guys that we saw get done earlier in the offseason. So a huge extension. Of course, I know we had talked about Parayko back, in the last couple of weeks, can't remember what day it was, because there was some reports indicating that if the Blues had a hard time coming to terms with him on an extension, there would be lots of teams interested, including a team like the Oilers. We talked about potential trades if St. Louis didn't have a good season and all that. And the big thing that I mentioned in that, and I will reiterate here, is that the Blues did not want to do that, but if it was looking like things were not going to be done on a contract and they were having a really, really hard time negotiation-wise, then maybe as a last resort, it would be done. But obviously, it's not something that the Blues really care to do. They've proven that here today with a monstrous extension, and he'll be a huge part of this team and core basically for the rest of his career. Seattle Kraken have made another signing, another bit of a surprise here. Veteran forward Riley Sheahan, of course, originally played with the Detroit Red Wings for a long time, bounced around a little bit since then, gets a 1-year contract $850,000 and has a 1-year, one-way deal. So again, another forward added to the mix for Seattle, who of course has a plethora of players. Hard to say who's going to end up making the roster, who will be assigned to a minor league affiliate, and maybe a few players could get traded as they go out through training camp as well. We really thought we'd see the Kraken, much like Vegas, do some shedding of players, much sooner than this, and there really has been very little done in that regard. And then they've added a few more in the free agency world, so we'll have to see what happens here. But of course, for Sheahan, he gets a 1-year deal to be able to keep playing, keep the NHL dream alive. This will be his 5th team since 2018, so we'll see what things work out for him in that regard. Now, before we jump any further into the video, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping into all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. So thanks very much for watching that promotional content. I do greatly appreciate it. Now, another player that we haven't heard much about this offseason is Jake Virtanen. Ever since Virtanen became basically as a free agent after being bought out by the Vancouver Canucks, we haven't really heard much in the way of his future. Now, apparently, he does have some options to head over to the KHL. He may be signing with CSKA. Nothing has been officially announced here at this point, and I know today, being September the 1st, is actually the kickoff to their NHL season. So I'm not sure exactly where things stand in that regard, but over the past, I think, 24 to 48 hours or so, it was reported that there were some rumors that he may be heading over there. So, of course, the young forward is looking to kind of get his career back on track. He's certainly facing some off-ice legal battles right now with being accused of some not-so-great things, trying to clear his name. I'm not sure if he's obviously guilty, innocent, or where things stand, what really happened, which is obviously before the courts. So we'll have to see where things go and if he can get his career back on track in that regard. But Virtanen's still young. He still has a lot of untapped potential, and maybe going over to play in Russia while he gets this stuff cleared up and eventually try and make a return if things go well might be what's best in his future. So I guess we'll probably find out here in short term, considering the season over there is getting underway. Now, when it comes to Kirill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild, we're not really what I'd say close, or a deal doesn't appear to be imminent right now. But there does appear to have been some progress made based on recent reports here from Michael Russo of The Athletic. It looks as though term, and to a degree, close on money, appears to be almost ironed out. It looks as though the structure of the contract appears to be what they're working on now to kind of hammer out the final parts of this deal. I know, like I said, originally the Wild wanted to go long-term and lock him up. He wanted shorter term, like much shorter term, of course, wanted to get free agency as quick as possible. And it looks as though they're settling. It's likely going to be a 5-year deal is what reports indicate today. And it's going to be somewhere in the $9 million range. So probably right around $40, $41 million is kind of what we're looking at. Of course, we don't know the exact figure, but somewhere in that ballpark or close to that is what it's likely going to be. I would suspect he's probably looking for a lot of like signing bonus money and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure how they're going to structure this deal. That seems to be the part that they're trying to hammer out and overcome here now. So that could take a little bit of time yet. I mean, we still have plenty of time before training camp. At this point, we can say for sure that we've been able to rule out the possibility of him playing in the KHL. I mean, his team that he was going to play for, CSKA, even announced publicly that they were not going to be signing him. He was not going to be playing there this season. I know he was reportedly heading to an airport. There was pictures of him going to be traveling. If a lot of speculation started, maybe he's going back to Minnesota. Actually, he's heading back to Siberia for a few days, I believe, to see family, and then hopefully they'll get stuff ironed out, and he'll be able to head to Minnesota here in the not-too-distant future. So we will see where the Rookie of the Year ends up on contract and how soon or how long this is going to take, but at least at this point, it looks like enough progress has been made that the odds of getting him signed and having him in camp and not being delayed getting there could be reasonable. But I know, as I mentioned before, for Russian players or players that are coming from Europe in general, like when their contract expires like that, they don't have a work visa any longer. And I did see some people speculating before, and I can't confirm the exact process for this because I've never personally had to deal with it, but they were saying like getting your work visa and everything, all your paperwork lined up to come back and play can take upwards of about a month. So it is possible that he could still technically miss part of training camp if he's not got everything all lined up and ready to go in time for camp. I mean, they might try to expedite things. NHL and different sports franchises sometimes have, other contacts and try to get things, put through faster than what the general public deal with. So we'll have to see about that. But the comments made came from a former, NHL player who knows all about that. So we'll see. But if they don't get something hammered out here soon, there's still a chance training camp itself could be delayed, but at least things are looking much more optimistic than they were just a couple of weeks ago. As I mentioned as well, in the trade rumor mill, another player that's kind of generating a little bit of buzz here is Sharks center iceman Tomas Hertl. Now, Hertl apparently seems to be one of the players that was not overly thrilled with teammate Evander Kane and all the drama he brought to the dressing room and to the franchise over the past few years. And word has leaked out that he could be looking to, maybe find a new home, so to speak. He's entering the final year of his contract. And reports from Kevin Kurz of The Athletic suggest that maybe it's not wise for the Sharks to really engage in contract extension talks, because maybe he's not overly interested in that either, because he might want to see some changes there before he'll really seriously consider re-signing and staying. Of course, he's been there for his entire career thus far. For the most part, has been a pretty important player, a nice complementary piece. Can certainly play a top six role when healthy and playing at his best for sure. And there certainly are teams out there that are obviously looking for help at the center position. A lot of the teams that I know that immediately jump to mind are teams in the Atlantic Division, such as the Montreal Canadiens, who are humming and hawing on what to do with this Jesper Kotkaniemi offer sheet. Do they make a trade for another center? Would he be somebody they'd be interested in? I know right now all reports indicate Christian Dufour is a more likelier target, so that may not be the case. But I know the Bruins are looking for a David Krejci replacement, trying to find somebody at a reasonable cost. Would they consider trading Jake DeBrusk, who they've been long rumored to be finding a fresh start for? Would it be like DeBrusk and a guy like maybe Vakanainen on the back end? Would that be enough to get a deal done to bring Hertl to the Bruins organization? That's certainly something I would imagine Don Sweeney and company are considering. Like I said, not having Krejci there leaves a big hole. I know they've kind of publicly gave a bit of a confidence boost to Charlie Coyle, and he's going to get first crack, first opportunity to do that and play that role as the number 2C. But I'm just not confident in that player's ability. I like Charlie Coyle. I think he could be a really good player, but he's been inconsistent. And to me, he's more of a third-line player than a second-line player. And if you put too much pressure on him in an elevated role that he's not really suited for, then it could backfire on you. And it's also going to impact the productivity of your wingers, like the newly signed Taylor Hall, of course, who was acquired at the deadline and then re-signed. A guy like Craig Smith, for example. I think you really need a more productive center iceman there to play with those guys. So Hertl could be that guy. I'm sure the Bruins are also inquiring on a guy like Dvorak, who's been on the market. I know Jack Eichel would probably love to be a Bruin, obviously being a Massachusetts-born player. And that's what many feel his long-term goal is. And I'm not mistaken. I think he might have even said that before he was drafted, that he would love to be a Boston Bruin someday, which not a huge surprise. I mean, that's most kids' dream to play for their hometown team if they have one. But in that case, that's going to be difficult to pull off too. So could Hertl be a good plan B type of option to get them somebody who's still young enough on a shorter-term deal? They can get a fresh start for Jake DeBrusk and bring in somebody to kind of shake up that lineup. To me, that makes a ton of sense. Now, we've also got a team like the Ottawa Senators, who we know have been contemplating to bring in another veteran centerman to take the pressure off guys like Josh Norris and Shane Pinto. Pinto played well after signing out of college late in the season, but I think he only played, I believe it was like 12 games. He looked really good. He was an extremely impressive rookie as a mature game, but still, it's going to be his first full campaign with all the COVID stuff. A lot of these guys haven't played anywhere near an 82-game schedule. To have a veteran like that come in would be a wise move if they can get it, but only for the right price. To me, the Senators have a ton of prospects that are going to graduate and take on bigger roles with this team. They just need some short-term insulation. So a guy like Hertl on a short-term contract, if they could get him without paying too much and risking the future, then to me that's something they should consider as well. I think one player they would consider moving would be Eric Brandstrom. It's kind of a crowded blue line right now. More guys coming on the way like Jake Sanderson, who are certainly appear at this point to be a higher level prospect, possibly even much higher, to be honest. And they have several others in the system too that they could theoretically afford to part with a guy like that if they bring back the right player. Now, I know he was the centerpiece in the Mark Stone trade, so they're going to want to tread carefully. They don't want to give him away. He does have a potentially really bright future as an offensively gifted blue liner, but at this point he's kind of yet to realize his full potential. And I know this is kind of a pivotal year for him. So not to say that that's an absolutely perfect fit there, but it's something to me that could be considered, given what they're been rumored to be looking for heading into this season. And another team that I would maybe even consider would be the Calgary Flames. The Flames are a team that were rumored to shake up this core and have not done much of anything yet. And Brad Treliving's got to be working on stuff behind the scenes. Maybe a Hertl for a Monahan type of trade. Obviously, Monahan has 2 years left. Hertl has 1. Monahan makes a little bit more money, but it's pretty well close here on term and dollars. Maybe they could get a change of scenery for both players. It might not even be a 1-for-1 deal, but it's something that we could see like an old-fashioned hockey trade, just to get guys fresh starts. I mean, that's just something I'm throwing out there. There's no rumor to suggest those teams are interested or talking or anything of that nature. That's just an opinion that comes to mind for another team that's been in that kind of market or rumored to be trying to make some changes. So to me, Hertl is not necessarily on the move immediately, but given everything that we've heard about the offseason and what went on last year, it sounds like he very well could want a fresh start, and it wouldn't be shocking here in the next few weeks if he was moved in a way to get him a fresh start. Timo Meier is another teammate of his and player in the Sharks that I think could really benefit from a fresh start as well. His numbers at such a young age to drop off like they have is really concerning. And to me, maybe getting him on another team with some different teammates, different players, different coaches might be best just to try to rejuvenate them. So we'll see what happens. Ultimately, the Sharks have the control, and they have no choice but to try to address this Kane situation in one way or another here. And the Sharks are going to be a very interesting team to watch ahead of the regular season getting underway. So let me know what you think they're going to do down below. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.